collaboration is sometimes tricky because most of us are business owners and we're all in the mentality of, I need to make a profit, I need to succeed. So looking beyond that and turning that into a we need to succeed takes a little bit of practice. I am the owner of Key Coworking, and today I'm mostly talking about the importance of building a network, particularly versus selling, and how you should actually approach someone to collaborate. As someone who has both approached a lot of people about collaboration and had a few very off-putting experiences being approached for a collaboration. So that's basically the intro slide that I'm about to show is what I was gonna say. Um, and can you guys see it?
There it goes. Yeah.
So title slide. So one of the things I really emphasize when I talk to people about networking is real networking isn't showing up and giving someone your card and trying to get them to be your client day one. It's about generosity. The currency of real networking is not really its generosity. It's connecting people to other people, always willing to help people. That's how you actually build a network of people that are willing to help you in turn, is by being the person who decides to be helpful, to share the wealth before anyone else. It's like this is the mindset in which I approach networking. There's a reason I don't call it selling. I think the sales happens once people trust you, and even then, it might never happen. Um, the goal is to create a strong network of people, and eventually, a strong network of people becomes a community of people around you that help support you and each other. So it's less, a good way to picture is less all the arrows of the relationships pointing to you, and the more you can get people's arrows also pointing at each other, the stronger your network becomes, the more close knit it becomes. And eventually it becomes a community of people, which is super important for networking. Um, One of the benefits of actually networking this way is you get a lot of support from people. Um, I've had to find people last minute to cover shifts at Key Coworking. And I put it out at my network at like 4 a.m. being like, hey, my employee's sick. Is anyone interested in covering? And I literally had 6 people invoice me like, yeah, I'll show up. You showed up when I could when I needed you. I'll show up. Uh, Tell me when and I'll be there. Uh, it takes a very long time to build a network like that, but being able to support each other like that is one of the reasons I have particularly been able to have my business for 3 years, and it's one of the reasons people quote when I talk to them. The other is the more people in your network, the more opportunities for collaboration exist. The more and the more you practice collaboration in your network, the stronger it gets. So it's like it feeds into itself. And the last benefit, which is usually the last one to show up, but one of the first ones people seek, is referrals. People will not refer to you, will not refer their friends, their families to you until they trust you. And usually that happens after you've already supported them, collaborated with them. Now they actually trust you enough to be like, yes, I'm willing to stake my reputation on you will take care of my friends and family. It takes a lot to get a referral from people. It means they trust you. It means they felt seen and supported in your network already. Um, so a very good way of putting it is this particular quote, which is one of my favorite, is networking is not about just connecting people. It is about connecting people to people, people with ideas, and people with opportunities. Um, I personally have like a little mission every time I go networking, mostly because I'm a little bit of an introvert and sometimes it's a little hard to do it, where I try to connect three people to either someone that's not at the networking event that they should be talking to, or an opportunity somewhere in the community. And I just keep track of who's doing what, to keep a Rolodex of people and opportunities in the back of my mind. And it's a really nice, easy way to network when you can be like, hey, this product you're selling, can I introduce you to someone that I think would need it? Or I just heard this wonderful grant is up for grabs. Let me send you the link. Is a really nice way to start networking, and people remember you. And that's how you start to build a community. Is you show up for the community before the community exists. Um, so collaboration is sometimes tricky because most of us are business owners and we're all in the mentality of I need to make a profit, I need to succeed. So looking beyond that and turning that into a we need to succeed takes a little bit of practice. And I do mean practice. I'm going to go over a few do's and don'ts. Some of them are going to be funny, some of them are not, and then I'll get out of the presentation and start a discussion that I've been wanting to have with people. Um, but some of the do's is do feel free to call people. It works wonderfully. Some of the best collaborations I've had have been from people who reached out of the blue and have proposed ideas. Do propose ideas if you have an idea of how you would like to collaborate with someone. Absolutely show up and tell them, hey, I want to do this with you. It shows the person you've put in the time and the effort to think about collaboration and not just trying to find someone to fill the space. The other thing I'll recommend is do spend time understanding the goals of the people you're working with. Uh, for example, Sharmon's goals with ethical network, the ethical network of San Antonio might not be the exact same goals that I have for Key Coworking, but if we sit down and I understand her goals, we can collaborate in a way that benefits both of us, even though our goals might not be exactly the same. But in order to have really good collaboration with people, you need to spend the time understanding their why and where they're trying to take their projects. Some of the don'ts, there's some funny ones. Um, don't assume they'll do work or give away product for free without getting something in return. The amount of people who have asked me to collaborate by giving them a free office for a month, free workshop space, free resources is too many to count. Um, Collaboration goes both ways. Both parties need to benefit. Otherwise, it's more of a give and not so much collaboration. The other one I get a lot is people showing up with, I want to collaborate with you, and having no clue what we can collaborate on. Just someone told them collaboration is how you get successful, and they're showing up without a plan. The other one is to assume that you can show up with someone else and they're going to perfectly follow your plan and not try to change it. A collaboration study, it's a collaboration, not a dictatorship. It goes both ways. And the other is if the other side's raising concerns about how much work, how much it's going to cost them to show up to this collaboration, don't minimize it because it seems easy on your end. Everyone knows their own business. I'm sure we've all had someone be like, "Oh, it only takes 25 minutes," and you're off to the side being like, "No, you only see 25 minutes of work. It takes 3 hours of prep work to get to that 25 minutes." It's like just show up and listen to people for collaboration. If they tell you it's going to be more work or more cost than you're assuming on their end, just take them at face value. People know their own stuff, and sometimes even if it looks easy to you, doesn't mean that it's easy on the other side. That might just be years of prep talking. This is uh, these are the three things that I sincerely believe any good network takes. It's effort, it's sincerity, and it's time. You have to be sincere with people when you meet them. You genuinely want to build a relationship with them. If you're being fake or you're using them, people pick up on that so quickly, and you will burn through like relationships very quickly. I've seen it happen before where people are very charming when you meet them, and 3 months later, no one remembers them because they've burned up a bridge. It takes effort. Networking is not an easy thing. Just showing up, approaching people, taking the effort to remember who you've met, what they do, connecting them to other people. It might look easy when you're doing it. It takes a lot of prep work. It takes a lot of remembering. It takes a lot of reaching out afterwards and following up with offers. And it takes time. Um, Sometimes you get lucky, and the people you're networking with, it pays off a day later. I've had I've had people I networked with a decade ago give me a call a decade later and be like, "Hey, I'm looking for an office. You helped me write my business plan a decade ago. Do you have space in your co-working space?" And I'm like, "Yes." Um, what do you mean I helped you write your co-working plan? I don't remember this. And they're like, "Yeah, you sat down and you like helped me scratch it out on the back of a napkin in such and such bar, and I've been working towards it for 10 years." And it took 10 years for that, like 45 minutes of listening to someone and helping them and giving them ideas and believing them actually came around and had an effect. Just be aware, networking is, it's a time game. It's not instantaneous. It takes a while. Be patient. Just like a good relationship or a good friendship takes a while to deepen, so do your networks. Uh, and this is when I was talking about sincerity. Yeah, the greatest people skill is an authentic an authentic interest in the other person. Like when you show up and you genuinely want to know what they do, how they're doing, who they want to help, why they want to do it, it is much easier to be a good networker, to be a better collaborator when you actually care about the people and you're not just seeking your own success but seeking everyone's. And I am going to exit out of the presentation, and I'm going to throw in the discussion questions. I was hoping we could do breakout rooms, but there's only 5 of us, so we're going to do one big group, and we're gonna practice collaborating. There's 5 of us in 5 very different businesses. Um, One of the harder parts about collaborating is thinking about something that would both benefit you and benefit the other person. So I want everyone to take I'm going to give people about a minute to just pick someone else in the room that you think you could collaborate with and suggest an idea. It doesn't have to be a good idea. It does have to happen. Just getting into the practice of, hey, what about this? Um, should I put the timer on? It's gonna be a little bit silent, or I can keep talking. Meanwhile, I can jab on for a very long time until someone tells me they're ready to talk. Have a
I mean, I think
preference?
I'm ready.
Go for it.
Okay, so I mean, one thing that came to mind while you were talking about some of the key points is just like people are going to have different goals. Of course, when it comes to collaborating, you want to talk to somebody and understand where they're coming from. Now, I haven't had a chance to talk to you, but I did go to one of the Kiko, as people call it, Kiko networking events at the location. They did show me the social media room. So one thing that I've been trying to do, me personally, for my benefit and my business, is to make video presentations with myself, like a talking head on the side kind of thing. I do it in Canva, so it's fun. I do it from my apartment, but something down the line where I can do something in the studio that you have would be great. But also, that would be just a very simple and easy plug to say, I did this here, kind of thing. So it wouldn't be like a big, huge work intensive like collaboration, but the fact of just saying, hey, by the way, when I made this with the help of somebody that I know and trust, which is Key Coworking, they have a space for me that I was able to do this. Just and of course, I'm just hoping in that sense that my video presentation comes off well. People appreciate it. I mean, they're not always thinking about where you're at and what you're doing behind the scenes, but it's fair to say, hey, I did this in a place, and if you felt somewhere there was a tickle of a thought that said, hey, it looks kind of professional, I like it. This is where I was at, and you can talk to them and just set up something for yourself. So it wouldn't have to be a big thing, but it could be that.
You're correct. Sometimes it's the little things. We keep a stack of people's business cards on hand, and we actually give them out because it's such an easy thing to tell someone like, "Hey, drop off some business cards. If we know someone's looking, we'll hand it over." Doesn't have to be big. Like, I found you a job. People remember the little things.
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to jump in?
Uh, well, I mean, Karla, you do have a really nice space that if you ever want to have a really fun party at your event, we can have a safari party. I can bring some animals, and I can design the flyers too, so we can do some marketing over it. Have a bunch of people at your place.
I've actually been meaning to talk to you afterwards. We're
Yeah,
having a fair in September that you might be a good fit for.
yeah, let's do it.
So might
Yeah,
Sherman.
yeah.
Uh,
Wait, we have all those cats. Maybe we can bring out a cat adoption place. We can have some cat adoption people. Get them adopted.
hopefully they'll be gone by September, but anyone who wants to collaborate with someone that's not me, I'm happy to collaborate with y'all, but like there's other people in this room. If not, I can give an example.
Oh well, I didn't get to know what ethical networking does.
Sherman, this is on
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So that's on. Yeah, so we are a networking organization. So I loved this presentation. It was so great, like so much about who we are and what we do. Um, but we are a nonprofit that is bringing together like-minded individuals and businesses to help promote sustainability and ethical business practices. And so our whole thing is community over competition and collaborating and using each other as resources and just everybody coming up together, and as well as just educating about sustainability and what that looks like in our businesses and our lives and within the world and community as a whole. So that's who we are.
See, and that already gave me an idea right there. Like I said, I like doing presentations, but if we had put together an ethics like webinar, seminar, something similar like that, just to share those kinds of concepts and ideas. I mean, definitely regulations and stuff are different across different businesses, but the key points are going to be there. So definitely be an opportunity to bring people together, sit a few heads down, pop some ideas, talk for 5 minutes each, and have some kind of like seminar.
Yeah,
That'd
I
be
like
fun.
it.
I was gonna say Sherman and I have collaborated. She was one of our speakers at Key Contacts a while ago, and now I get to return the favor.
Yes, yes.
So it took a few months. I'm sorry about that. Almost
No,
2
I
years.
love it. This was perfect. It was perfect.
Um, for example, if I was going to approach Marisol about collaborating, I might ask her if she's looking for new clients, what type of marketing she's doing, if she'd be interested in co-hosting a panel or a workshop with us that we can both share to our network. That like if you told me like approach Marisol today, that would be with like I'm still missing info on you to like really solidify like, do you want to do this? That would be sort of on the base where I'd be like, who are you looking for? Are they in my base? Can you reach out to your network and can we combine networks for this event and like help both of us grow? What do you think, Marisol? Would that be an
Yeah, I would love that. And in thinking, Karla, like I loved your presentation and some of what you shared. I'm like, yeah, I think I've been to networking events that were done the wrong way, lots of don'ts. So I love what you shared here. And yeah, I've actually brainstormed not only utilizing your space, but I know you serve a lot of entrepreneurs, people who work for themselves, have small businesses. And, there's a good chunk of my clientele who are entrepreneurs or wannabe future entrepreneurs. And so, yeah, I definitely think, so I know I did a quick intro, but for those of you, I'm with Essential Wisdom Coaching, and I am a life coaching and consulting company here in San Antonio. And so I do life coaching, leadership coaching. In there naturally comes business coaching, and I do consulting as well for individuals, organizations. I have a long background in education and personal development. So anything that might involve education, training, facilitation, program development, program assessment. I've worn many hats, and my umbrella is quite large. So yeah.
Speaking of collaboration, remind me to introduce you to the people who are on the app Fun and Movement later.
Oh.
But you might have a collaboration with them. They're a fitness app that's like Netflix style. Made for people at the very beginning of their fitness journey or rehabilitation journey, like people who can't get out of a chair level, or like who it's like just 5 minutes of exercise is a good start. So if you have any clients, you guys might be a like good cross referral platform for each other.
That would be really cool. And then I was also thinking, because I've done some collaborating with Ethical Network, so that's awesome. And Ricky, you talked about how you go to schools and do educational. So I'm like, part of a couple of light bulbs went off in my head. Is one of the things that I work with people are they're called ecotherapeutic practices. So how to reconnect with the natural world, and because in my mind it's like all interconnected, right? The world, the natural world, we're all interconnected. So some sort of collaboration around that, maybe highlighting
I love that.
How to incorporate the animals into these, easy, simple activities that in addition to learning about them.
Yeah, we do animal therapy, which could fit perfectly because a lot of it is we get some of the more cuddly, cutie animals like long-haired guinea pigs and tortoises and things like that, and we put them on our laps and we just kind of relax and kind of become part of enjoying nature and things like that. So I think that would be awesome. That would be perfect. And if you guys also want to do another event for business owners and entrepreneurs, I mean, one of the lectures that I always do, because I get invited to do branding lectures at universities sometimes, but yeah, I can talk about marketing and branding specifically. So if you ever need some sort of panel discussion on that, I mean, I can help with that too.
Awesome. One of the things I did want to mention before we keep going is collaboration is not a spontaneous thing. It is usually something someone spent a little bit of time thinking on. It's a habit to notice those similarities and those opportunities. It's like if me throwing everyone under the bus right now was like, I don't know, here are some very obvious ones. That's all right. The first few times, and then it becomes a habit. And you start talking to people, and you're like, you start making the connections. Like it is a very much a conscious effort at first, and then becomes habit, and eventually it's just a thing you do when you meet people. You think of the ways you can support each other instead of it. Like it takes a while to change the mindset. What I'm trying to get at. If it doesn't feel natural right now, if it feels hard, that's okay. It did for me at the beginning as well. It takes a while. Be patient with yourself. If you did the car salesman networking in the past, that is also right. People are allowed to change. Um, if anyone has some horror stories they would like to share, I would also love to hear them because there's always some fun. There's fun to learn. There's something to learn from things that happen that we can laugh at now looking back. Uh, Roger, you were gonna say something, I believe.
Oh, I was just making faces when you're talking about horror stories. I mean, I don't have too many right now because of what I've been involved in. I'm still kind of fresh. I mean, I can say in what odd way, as far as collaborating, I've noticed that in my sphere of what I'm doing, there's plenty of people that are actually out there essentially trying to snipe individual agents from their companies to get them on board with theirs. And there's a part of it where I see it and I'm like, because I see it in groups and it's happened to me as well. I see it in different Facebook groups and stuff, but they're pretty much like, hey, you're already involved. Like you already have your license. The grass is greener on the other side. Come over here. But one thing I've noticed, like my one main interaction actually happened today. Someone had messaged me recently and said, "Hey, how's it going? I see that you're in life. How do you like it?" I wrote her back. This is like a couple of days ago. Like, hey, it's good. I just didn't put too much into it, and of course, it led into the, well, guess what? You know, you should be over here and not where you're at. And then she did try to relate it like to me, like, hey, well, I used to work with that company. I used to do work with them, and it was just horrible. And the your compensation was just not great, and they had you doing this, that. And two things came to mind. First off, I was like, for one, you're describing the experience that I didn't have with them, first of all. So you're assuming a little too much. And it also tells me that you didn't have a great experience because you probably weren't with a group that was doing things the way that the system's designed for, at least for our company. And I asked her, so because she started telling me, well, I can give you better compensation and you can get leads. And I'm not saying one way or the other, but all I can say is that with our model, we don't do leads. You don't buy leads. You don't do cold calling. And the reason being is because we do want to have that trust built up with the people that we talk to. We want to take the time and the effort to gain trust, edify ourselves, and have a natural, organic kind of reach with people. So we don't do that. So when she said, "Oh, when I was with that company, we had to buy leads and they sucked and this," that, I was like, I think you're lying to me. You're trying to get me to like bring over my network of people and talk to you and help you out. But what you're saying is like it's not true. Or maybe it was true for her, but she didn't ask anything about me and where I was at and what I was trying to do with it. So that just it immediately just turned it into like I just asked her a plain and simple question. I said, "Hey, you know, your experience sounds different from mine. We don't buy leads and it's actually frowned upon. We discourage other agents from doing it. So can I ask you something? Does your program have anything about training for prospecting?" And conversation died. Never had any talk with her after that. Did not respond to my messages. And I was like, wow. So even the simplest thing about, like you said, just gaining trust and talking to people and taking the time, the first step you're supposed to do, and you can't even tell me that you have that in your program. Obviously our values and our system just doesn't align like at all. So how is that going to work out? How am I going to help you out and you're going to help me out? So that was just today.
Yeah, I've had a few horror stories. I had someone reach out and be like, I want to collaborate with you. I want to run a really intensive program that's going to make you have to pay people to stay after hours. Uh, it's called like I ran numbers. It was going to cost me about $5,000 to collaborate with them, and they're
Mm-mm.
like, we want you to do it for free, but it's okay. We'll give you a shout out on our website, and maybe 1,000 people will see this year. And I'm like, no, like if you had come up with to me and be like, same same project. Hey, we're trying to get this project off the ground. Our budget's a little tight. It's going to be this. We can pay this much. Within that budget, how much can you do? I probably would have swallowed. I would have been like, throw my logo on the website. I'll swallow $500 or $600 of the cost, and then we can like work during our business hours. We can trim a lot of fat off. Like I could have worked with them. We could have probably made it work within like their actual budget, but they approached it as, we are so awesome. You should be grateful to collaborate with us and therefore give us all the free things. Which like
No.
when you approach people with attitude, people don't like it. It turns people off. People much more prefer people who approach like centering the other person first versus your own ego. But sometimes it's really hard to do when you get really excited about somebody you can collaborate with. Because you're like, ooh, we have a thing. Does anyone else want to share any stories like that?
I have a story. It was like a combination, and we never even got to like the collaboration part. It was like a networking sort of connection where somebody reached out to me, a small business owner, a solopreneur. And I'm like, yeah, I love meeting people online. I love connecting. They requested that I book on their calendar, which I'm like, sure, that's easy. I will book, a short chat on your calendar, which I did. And then the day of, they messaged me, and I understand things come up. They messaged me and were like, some things came up. Can we adjust? And I was like, well, my schedule's kind of tight, but this is what I can do. So we meet that day, and the person, again, who reached out to me wanting to like network, collaborate, do something, started with questions that it was clear they had done, and not that I expect people to research me, but if you're reaching out to me for this purpose, at least have looked at my website maybe, because some of the questions I was like, oh, if you know anything about me or my work, you wouldn't be asking me these questions. And so, yeah, it was a very interesting, and I'm sure I probably came across as very short, and because I did ask, like, have you looked at my website, or are you familiar with my work? And they told me no. Which again, I'm like, oh no. So it was probably not, it was a horrific experience for me, but probably also for that other person, probably not a great experience either, because I'm very direct, and I was like, yeah, well, I'm used to people who reach out having some knowledge, a little bit, or doing a little bit of homework to do that. So yeah, that was not a good experience. And I've seen this person around, and I always feel a little like, uh-oh, I hope they don't think I'm really mean, which I'm not. But yeah, no, that was a lesson to me in like, okay, even connecting with people who request that, like figuring out how it's valuable for us both.
Yeah, like everything. We live in the age of social media. Look at my Instagram; it's not that hard.
I hope it was a
mean,
learning experience for them. I really
Yeah,
hope it was.
and that person like messaged me through Instagram. I'm like, okay, so you clearly have seen something, but yeah, but yeah.
I'm going to pick up financial advisors for the next two stories. One is a story of a really bad experience. One is a story of two of my absolute favorite financial advisors. That every single time someone asks, I'm like, these two people, and if they can't help you, they'll get you to good hands. For reasons of privacy, I will not tell you who the horrible people are. But let's just say one of them asked to meet, specifically like, hey, can I have a meeting with you? I want to find out what your rights are for hosting a workshop. I was like, sure. He comes in, spends 45 minutes pitching me on New York Live. I have sat through many New York Live presentations. I've actually volunteered to be a guinea pig for someone who was practicing, so like I can probably quote them at this point. He would not take no for an answer. Like he would I would try to change the topics, he changed it back. No actual interest. Pretty much came in trying to deceive me so he could pitch his products. Not only did he not get a client, the people who were sitting around me in the co-working space, pretty much after he left, were like, so we're never dealing with that guy. Like, he didn't only burn his bridge with me, he burned it with everyone else who was like listening into the conversation. one of the people was like, I was about to be like, hey, I really have an emergency. I need to talk to you just so we can get you out of that conversation. Like, it's fine. If I need to be mean, I know how to be mean. Um, but the people that I've had who were amazing, one of them is no longer an agent. His name was Jacob. Amazing. He called me with, hey, I know you I still remember the email. It said like, hey, I know you probably get a lot of emails from your life people, but I met you 2 weeks ago and I just met someone today you need to meet. And he sent me someone that, yeah, ended up being a client. This guy never tried to sell me anything. I've probably referred to like 50 or 60 people to him because he was so genuine in his desire to actually help small business owners. It's like, I trust you. Trust he cared about me before he expected me to care about him. The second person is still an agent, specifically focusing on retirement. His name is Jake Rebus, and he has spent so much time just sitting down with people and explaining basic concepts that he does not get paid to explain. Then when anytime someone's like, hey, I'm really scared of financial advisors, like, I was raised to never talk about money, like I'm not supposed to, like it's strange. I'm like, you should go talk to him, and he'll spend like the first meeting with them just having a conversation about life, what they want to do, what they're doing next week, what car they want. And having heard Roger speak today, I think you might end up being the third one on that list. Cause like, yeah, the genuine care for people shows through, and people feel it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll definitely jump on that list. And I'll work for it too, you know.
I just wanted to highlight the good and bad because all those people were selling the same thing, had the
Mhm.
same strategies in front of them. The one who was impatient not only burned one bridge, they burned several. And the other people are getting referrals. Like, poor Jacob still retired 4 years ago and is still getting referrals. Does anyone want to like plug someone they've worked with that's like, yes, this person is amazing at networking? Just so we can end the night note of like celebrating people who've done a good job of it.
I would love to, but I'm like, I know Pat and Jennifer just popped in here. I don't know if you guys were getting what all we were doing.
Are you picking up what we're putting down?
Yeah, you getting everything? You getting everything? We are recording.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, Pat.
Hi.
Hey.
No, I'm actually working as I'm listening to you guys, and it's good content and very very interesting to hear each of your experiences with, you know, meeting with folks out there who need opportunities to collaborate either with yourself or others that you refer. So it's good to know. Good to be on the inside hearing this.
Great. I'm like, okay, I'll go. I haven't really said much. I can talk about some awesome people
Mhm.
because I know a lot of them. Like there's
You do?
so many. Let's see. Who should I start with? I am going to start with, I think, wait a minute.
You need a list.
I know. And then like all the names just flew out my head. I was like,
Yeah.
what?
What happens because we're like,
How it
I don't
goes.
make people, who are they?
No. So, okay. So we will start with one of our she's not a member of our organization. She says that she's like the most memberous non-member like ever. But Naomi from Rooted Vegan Cuisine, I'm like, I think she is absolutely amazing with networking and with connecting people. I think when we, back in 2020, when we first started our list of like Black owned, ethical, and sustainable businesses, like the first couple of times we had posted it, I think she was like 80% of our comments as she like was like listing businesses that we needed to like add to our list. And she's constantly sending people our way and connecting with us with people. And I try to do the same with her. So like even when we did our panel back in September, I'm like, I was trying to stick with member businesses, but I'm like, okay, I got to bring in Naomi too, because she just has a lot of energy and she's been like great at just connecting us with people and us connecting with people through her. So I'm like, she is one of the people have like connected us like the most and has just been absolutely incredible and not expecting anything, but she's just about helping all of those businesses and making sure they have a platform and making sure they're seen, that people know about them. And I love that about her. So that's my little plug. I won't go on forever and ever, but
Next time though.
next
Yeah.
time.
Next time we all show up with a list, like I have 58 awesome people you all need to meet.
Yeah.